This is Riviera FM.
And this is the Lioness. Hello, welcome to my very first show. All alone, all on my lonesome. My guest hasn't turned up, bless his little heart. And we're here today to talk about modern day slavery. I don't know what you think about slavery. I think the idea puts the fear of God into many people. They may think I'm completely nuts. They may be right. But by the definition of slavery, in the legal dictionary, we're told it's a civil relationship in which one person has absolute power over the life, fortune and liberty of another. And the Oxford Dictionary says, a person who is the legal property of another and is forced to obey them, or a person who works very hard without proper remuneration or appreciation, a device or part of one directly controlled by a government. And we have in this country a government scheme in the UK that goes by the name of WORKFARE. I don't know if you've heard of it. I have Krystyna Howard in the studio here with me.
Hello.
Making sure I don't make too much of a mess of the things here. This government scheme called WORKFARE. It's to generate a net contribution to society from welfare recipients. Basically, we shouldn't all be shirking and getting money for nothing, so benefits people need to keep. Most commonly it means getting unemployed people into paid work, reducing or eliminating welfare payments to them and creating an income that generates taxes.
This hit the headlines not so long ago, didn't it? There was the young lady that was forced to work in Poundland for free, and she took it to court and she actually won the case.
Yes, Kate Riley.
Yeah.
Her name was Kate Riley. She sort of won the case. However, the Supreme Court ruled that it wasn't slavery. This wasn't slavery. So we're really here just to discuss whether we think it is slavery. The Supreme Court says it isn't, but it's curious to find out then what is slavery, because the sanctions for this, the sanctions for not obeying these rules, Ian Duncan Smith, who we love, bless, sanctions people for not following the rules and not following these agreements that they call them, and for getting this welfare to work, this money for working. And it said, do you know that the average length of a community sentence handed down to convicted criminals is 110 hours unpaid someone else's teeth in today, honestly, I'll start again. The average length of a community sentence handed down to convicted criminals is 110 hours unpaid labour over the course of 12 months. So that's a year, 110 hours.
Yeah.
The maximum allowed is 300 hours unpaid labour over a year. That's the maximum that a magistrate can hand out a community sentence, 100 hours.
So that's to somebody that's
Someone who's a convicted criminal.
Right.
In April this year, just got gone, the Help to Work punishment regime for these unemployed can sentence people to 760 hours of unpaid labour over the course of 6 months.
So they're basically being treated worse than criminals?
They can get more than twice the maximum allowed yearly punishment for a convicted criminal in 6 months. So effectively nearly 5 times the amount in a year they will be doing. And they're not convicted of anything. It's just that they haven't followed the rules in the help that they are being given. I love that word, help. We're going to help you to not have any money and not be able to feed your children anymore unless you follow all these rules.
So I'm not that sure about the workfare rules exactly.
Yes.
So is it just people that are on job seekers long term that get put onto it, or does that include people that are on disability because they have health problems or disabilities? So therefore, would they be expecting somebody with a disability to work that many hours non-paid a year?
Well, I was
hoping
that somebody would be able to tell us this information, and I've actually been on the phone today to DWP to try to get a lot of clarification for these things, and basically nobody seems to know. They know what will happen to you if you don't follow the rules, but they don't seem to know where the rules come from. What are the rules? It seems to be you get a nice advisor when you go in there and they're kind to you and they like you, so you don't get quite a strict regime. Or you get one that doesn't like you, has had a rotten day, or has fallen out with the missus or something, and you're going to get 700 hours community, and if you don't turn up, then you have no money and they can sanction you for Oh no, I have meant to write that down, but it is years. It can go on for, I think it's 3 years. You can be sanctioned. And sanction is a nice little friendly word. What it means is you can have no money and starve.
And they don't worry about how you're going to pay your bills or put food in your mouth.
Or feed your children or anything else, no. But then social services will become involved and will take your children away because you're not feeding them and not looking after them. So there's an insidious little line, which I don't suppose we need to go into today.
So basically, the part of the problem is there's actually nothing definitive within the workfare guidelines or rules to state how they should be working and who they should be working for and what the limitations are, and therefore people are kind of abusing it. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely, yeah. And that was the case of this Kate Riley. She was unemployed and signing on, but she had to do she agreed to do and arranged to do voluntary work for a charity, so she was going to be doing this, what the government keep talking about, becoming a hard worker and doing something useful in her community. And however, she was ordered not to do so. She was ordered not to work for the charity, and she was ordered to work for Poundland. And we, of course, have a Poundland here in Torbay, which is why I wanted to mention this particularly, because Poundland in Torbay, amongst others, who I will name and shame in a little minute, run this workfare scheme here. This happens here, it happens in Asda here, it happens in Tesco
in Torbay?
here. Yes, exactly.
Right.
Yeah, it's not just there. Yes, okay, well, I'll name them now. Asda, Tesco, Primark, Hilton Hotels and B&Q. Hello, lovelies, we're watching you. So basically, the charity lost a willing worker from Kate because she was ordered not to work for them, and Kate was robbed of opportunity for doing something useful in the community, which is what this workfare scheme purports to be about. It's about doing something, giving something back to your community, but she wasn't allowed to do that. She was forced to work for nothing.
And also then she's taken somebody else's job who could be in a paid job.
Absolutely. Well, that's what I've said. The biggest winner there, apart from the state media propaganda, because the media says, oh, we've got someone else off the unemployed list, and they're always saying now we've got the lowest unemployment, and we're doing wonders for working, we're making more jobs and all, but the way they're massaging the statistics, I would think it would be impossible to say how many people are unemployed, because there are so many different lists and so many different categories. Are you unemployed? Are you disabled? Are you on this scheme or on that scheme?
What I have issues with are those 0-hour contracts and casual contracts, where, so fair enough, that person wouldn't be classed as unemployed because technically they have a job, but they aren't earning any money and they're not working.
Exactly, and they're not qualified for benefits either, and then they can do £20, they can earn £20 a week or something. So who goes to work for £20 a week?
And also, what jobs are there out there where you only work 20 hours a week? I suppose.
Well, it's not 20 hours, it's £20, I think. After you earn £20, then you start being financially sanctioned.
4 hours a week?
I don't know, it's ridiculous, isn't it? And are there that many employers that want somebody to do 3 hours a week, maybe?
I have no idea. If you're an employer and you're listening...
Yes, please do call in or please email us on studio@riviera.fm. We'd love to hear from you if you've got 3 hours a week available to somebody on a regular basis. I'm sure there are people out there who would love to have this. But the concern I have, and I know you just mentioned it there, this workfare scheme actually creates unemployment, it appears to be. After all, what corporation wants to pay for its employees if it can get given them for nothing?
Yeah.
So is that slavery? And we go back to the definitions again. A person who is a legal property or another or forced to obey them. Is that slavery?
It's a really tricky one, isn't it?
Well, it says here again, the civil relationship in which one person has absolute power over the life, fortune and liberty of another. There are many people here that argue that is slavery.
Yeah. Okay.
So
there you go.
Hopefully there's something for you to think about. Hopefully there's something for you to ring in and talk to us about. I'm going to let you think about that, and we're going to play the Beach Boys, I Get Around.
This is Riviera FM, broadcasting from the English Riviera.
Wow, where'd you go after that? Hello again. This is Riviera FM. This is Lioness. I'm here with Krystyna. I'm confused because Kristy, who was coming in, has just sent us a message and said, unfortunately, he's not very well. And he's not coming in, so we're not going to have any live music from Kristy today, and we're not going to have any chat with him. Hopefully we will later. Get well soon, Kristy. I don't know what's wrong with you, but I hope it's nothing terminal, lovely.
Fingers crossed.
Yes, fingers crossed, everything crossed. Well, we've been talking about slavery. We've been talking about this workfare scheme. This morning I spent quite some time on the phone with the DWP, Department of Work and Pensions, for those who don't speak to them regularly. trying to find out if there is a difference between this workfare scheme that we've been discussing that makes people work for nothing or for benefits and lose if they don't, and a thing called Torbay Works Plus. And no one is willing to give me an answer. No one at Torbay Council is willing to give me an answer either. So I'm curious about the fact that nobody is willing to give me an answer. Whether I should be drawing conclusions from that or not, I don't know. Whether this is the same thing. It appears to be the same thing, but I wouldn't like to go that far. I'd like to say, somebody please ring in or contact us and let us know here. Is the Torbay Works Plus scheme the same as the workfare scheme that was originally in Duncan Smith's brainchild? Because if so, Adrian Sanders is very for it, so perhaps we'd have a little chat about that and see if this is the same thing. And I'd like to know Adrian Sanders, who is obviously our MP for the English Riviera and Torbay, what his views are on this workfare scheme, if it appears to be the same thing.
So it says that 1.5 million helping unemployed people back into work through Torbay Works Plus.
Yes.
So
but it doesn't say what or how or where. And of course, all these government schemes are always talk about how much money they've thrown at it, but they don't actually talk about the downside of the recipients of it, the lucky people who end up with, no food, no money, and so on. It says here, I've downloaded some information about workfare, and it says that it's argued that the combination of job search support and employment experience, even at entry level, enables one to better find gainful long-term employment. Well, we can't really argue with that. That's common sense, isn't it? Welfare to work programmes aim to break the cycle of poverty in which welfare dependence can become a way of life, says the government.
But how are people meant to not be dependent on welfare if they're being forced to work for free?
Exactly. It's not joined up writing. None of this is... I've never found anything that the government does to be joined up writing myself, but you can pick holes in all of it. But there we are. Workfare participants, bless them, may retain certain employee rights throughout the process. However, often workfare programmes are determined to be, and it's in quotes, outside employment relationships. This sounds very common purpose. We'll talk about common purpose another day. Leading outside of us authority basically means we can do what we like and you have to just suck it up. It says, therefore, the rights of the beneficiaries, if you can call them that, can vary. And it is very variable. And I think this is what I found out today when I'm ringing and saying, can you tell me precisely what this is and precisely what the rules are? And can you send me a copy of this information? Well, no, it's all a bit iffy, and it's all up to the advisor, and it's a relationship between the advisor and the person,
So you're not trying to stir up trouble.
No, I want to find out what's happening
controversial.
here.
You just want to find out what the rules are and why the rules are there.
Exactly, and we're talking about, is this slavery? Does this constitute slavery? And I've been asked to do this particular subject because there are a lot of people that have contacted me and have said, yes, this does appear to be slavery, particularly those people who are these lucky recipients of this situation. They say the rationale behind these programmes, the government say, is threefold. Firstly, taxpayers feel they get more money for their taxes. Now, we're always told about the benefit cheats and how these, there's a scum of the earth and they should be earning our hard-earned money. So it's very divisive. It's about a them and us culture, particularly. And that's particularly popular with the government and the mainstream media. There's always different things to divide us, aren't they? We just don't listen to it. Secondly, they say putting unemployment people into a workplace-like environment attempts to address the argument that one of the biggest barriers to employment for long-term employed is their lack of recent working experience. Well, duh. Really?
Yeah.
That's not rocket science, is it? If you haven't been working for a long time, you haven't got much recent working experience. I don't think we need, 1.5 million money thrown into it to work out that.
My issue is that it's all very well coming down hard on people now, but if there's somebody that hasn't been at work for 15 years and there's no apparent health reason or anything to explain why, then why have they been allowed? Why didn't somebody pull them up on this 7 years ago or 10 years ago or 12 years ago? Why is everybody now? I just seem like the government is coming down very hard on people and everybody's being tarnished with the same brush.
Exactly. I can't answer that. I'm hoping that somebody could, which is why I phoned these people today, and I'm hoping if someone there from the DWP is listening on a bank holiday, I did manage to get hold of some people on a bank holiday. There are some people there. Please give us a call or please send us a message and we can talk about this next week. But this brings us on to this girl you were talking about, this Kate Riley. She went to the Supreme Court over the decision because she said that the workfare scheme actually creates unemployment and forced her into slavery. And unsurprisingly, the Supreme Court decided that workfare scheme does not amount to slave labour.
So where are they getting their definitions from then?
Isn't that a good question? Isn't that a good question? And again, it's one I've had no answer from. I've asked the Ministry of Justice on a Freedom of Information request. We don't hold this information. I've asked the Home Office on a Freedom of Information request. We don't have this information. Yeah. And I've tried to speak to the DWP and they haven't got any information about anything, it seems to be. It really does seem to be one of these things. We make it up as we go along.
The worrying thing for me is that, yeah, you're right, it's us and them, and I think the general public are very much split into two camps. There's the people that are on benefits and there's the people that work. Yeah. And actually there's not so much emphasis put on the people that work and get benefits. Plenty people work and get benefits. Yeah. But it just seems that, they're ignored, and actually the main emphasis is on the two, extreme ends of the scale. Yeah. But I do feel not feel sorry in a patronising way, because I'm one of the people on the extreme end of the scale. I do think that people that are on the receiving end of being told they have to do workfare in order to keep their benefits are, entitled to at least have the answers that they are looking for and that they should be allowed to have.
Yeah. Exactly. But there doesn't appear to be one, and I'm going to talk to you in a little while about a guy called Keith Ordinary Guy, who I was hoping to be able to speak to on the phone, but he's still out being very ordinary in an extraordinary way up in Bristol. He is attempting to take the government to court. He wanted to take them to court over slavery, and he wanted to report the fact that this new claimant commitment for job seekers, which we'll talk about in a minute, does constitute slavery. And he went up to Bristol with Sonia Poulton and a number of other people this weekend to report them to the police, and we'll talk about what happened in just a minute. This is Riviera FM and the Lioness show, here with Krystyna. That was Irene Cara and Fame for no other reason. It was just queued up and I thought, let's go with that. So I hope you liked it. I hope you get famous and rich and have everything you ever want. I would hate it personally, I think, wouldn't you?
Yeah, it's very much. It's like signing your soul away to the devil, isn't it? Nowadays, once you get famous.
Yeah, well, that's scrutiny. You can't win. I get trolls. I have trolls. I love the trolls.
You have actual trolls.
Oh God, and dozens of them. Yeah, poor little things. They just need help, bless them. But I'm sure there's going to be plenty more after this show. Yeah. But
well, you
that
know
kind of fame you can do without.
There's a guy on Facebook who has got cancer and he's terminal, and he's raised 3 billion or 3 million. I don't know how much.
That's
it is.
right.
And even he's had trolls now because he really thought he was, it was coming to an end, and then he started to improve, and now people are going,
just in it for the money.
That's a bit coincidental, isn't it? Now you've raised that much. Yeah, exactly.
How selfish I'm getting cancer just to get the money.
Well,
yes, we get it all the time. I get called fraud. I get called fraud quite often, and I used to challenge it and say, well, can we have one piece of evidence here, please, for this live, or just one piece? And of course, it just goes on. Once you start, it's called feeding the trolls, and then they go off once you've got them hooked. So I just don't feed the trolls. I just don't play anymore.
Feed the trolls. I love
Don't
it.
feed the trolls. Yes, we've had one troll who's probably listening today who actually came to me and asked me to do a show about a particular subject, which someone else had already sent me the information. It's a very interesting subject. It's very much like the Bundy Ranch in America, if you've been following that. But it's in the UK, up north, as they say, with an animal sanctuary that's been closed down, and the animals have all been taken away and the people have been thrown out of their house. Yeah. And it appears because it's a wealthy landowner next door who wants a wind farm or solar farm. So we may be getting into that on another show, but yes, one of my trolls sent me that, so I just said, I'm surprised you're contacting me. I thought I was a fraud.
Yes.
There we are, bless him.
How the tables have turned.
Yes, don't they just? In 10 minutes' time, I am hoping my next guest, not like the first one who was poorly, I'm hoping my next guest is not poorly. She is lovely. You will love her. You will love me for getting hold of her. I can't praise this lady enough. Katy, if you're listening, we love you. Katy Anchant, or Anchant, it should be, apparently, she tells me, is a Facebook friend of mine. We'd never met before until Facebook, and we have talked and we've got to know each other. And she's been asked to go on a number of shows which she's turned down, except for mine, because she trusts me. Isn't that sweet? I paid her loads to say that. She's coming on the show. Obviously, the subject of today's show is slavery. And what Katy does, she'll tell you herself when she comes on. I'm going to give her a call in 10 minutes. She writes a love letter to somebody very special, somebody very dear to her heart. someone who, well, it's not someone who would be dear to my heart, but then I don't have the relationship with her that he does, or vice versa, perhaps. She's going to come on and read her latest love letter to us live, which I think is very sweet of her, very brave of her. And I hope that the lucky gentleman is listening because, well, he deserves it. He really does. And Katy also makes wonderful music, and I'm hoping she's going to let me play some of her music. So that'll be in 10 minutes. And we're going to then continue talking about slavery. But right now we've got something which I will tell you what it is afterwards because I've got all my bits of paper lined up here and I've forgotten. No, Jessie J and Price Tag. Have here with us, hopefully we have Katy Anchant. Can you hear me, Katy?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Hello.
Hello.
Yes, we can
How
hear you loud and
Lioness?
clear. How are you?
Good, fine, thank you.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. Now, I've spoken about you briefly today and just said that
I heard, thank you.
we have a woman here, a woman in love. Would that be fair to say?
Well, that's lovely. Thank you very much indeed. I did chuckle as I was listening. I was thinking, oh gosh, okay.
Would you like to tell the listeners why you're in love, or more to the point, who you're in love with?
Oh, David Cameron.
Of course.
Yes.
Of course. Who isn't? Of course.
No, indeed. Well, he's such a wonderful man.
Absolutely.
So caring and kind and, you know,
Yeah.
we all adore David Cameron.
Of course we do. Who wouldn't? Well, why wouldn't you?
Yes.
And you do something very special. You have a very special connection with him, don't you?
I do, yes. I write him love letters. Though, of course, they are satirical. They're not serious. And the reason I write them in that style is because, I kind of find that almost all political write-ups and articles, they all make someone angry, whether it be kind of benefit claimants at the government or Tory voters at benefit claimants or regular people at immigrants. I wanted to do something that would make people smile.
Yes.
And people seem to smile at my letters, and that's really the whole point.
We do, and that's how we got to know each other, really, because you came up on my friends list. Oh, I think you were recommended by somebody, and I saw your letters, and I just instantly fell in love with them because I think you have such a way with words. We don't need to think. You do. It's a statement. It's true. It's wonderful. Have you ever had any feedback from him? Has he written back to you, sent you flowers, sent you chocolates?
No, I really haven't.
How
It's
very
very
nice.
irritating. No, I've had a couple of standard replies, and I had one from the one of the homeless divisions saying that they very much liked my idea of giving homeless people tents and putting them up in fields, but they weren't going to implement it. So obviously they took the letter very seriously.
Well, perhaps it's only a summer thing, to be fair. It's probably only a summer policy.
Yes, I would say so. But yeah, no, I've never had a proper response. I mean, I even asked once for a compliment slip. And I even suggested that the compliment could be, Katy, you have great hair. But no, I've never received any proper response. It's very disappointing.
It is. And I expect he's saving it for a special day. He probably knows when your birthday is. He'll be round.
Well, I hope so.
Or someone will be round, undoubtedly, at some stage, if you keep writing these letters. I'm sure someone will be round to have words with you.
We shall see.
Yeah.
Not so far, but yeah.
Now, you've written a new letter. You were telling me before that you've written a new letter that none of us have seen before or heard before. So this is an exclusive.
That's right, it is exclusive. I
Oh,
haven't
really?
posted it online yet. I'm going to post it online after I've read it on your show.
Oh.
So it's completely exclusive.
Absolutely. Well, let's have a little go then. Now, I'm going to attempt to play some quiet music on the background. For those who've heard my deliberate mistakes already, you may just hear another one. We'll try not to, but we will try to play some music slowly. And this is Katy Anchant, who is totally in love with David Cameron.
Thank you. My darling man, as much as I adore dear old Ian, despite his silly temper and unfortunate face, I do think perhaps he should go sooner rather than later. You see, I just heard he'd lost the battle to keep reports on his universal credit things secret, saying it would have a chilling effect if they were revealed. I'm not entirely sure what he means by this. Some boring government report isn't likely to have a chilling effect on me. I could think of a few things that would. Boris Johnson on a bike, Michael Gove, well, just Michael Gove, but I'm sure the universal credit reports will most likely not surprise me at all. Best guesses so far has put the cost at over £100,000 per existing claimant. He could have probably eliminated poverty in the UK with that, but that would put him out of a job. Well, now that report is all about to come out, it's probably best that IDS isn't around to try and defend himself, or his spitting denials are just going to spray all over you, my love. If he's going down, I'd rather he didn't take you with him. No, I really would rather not see you going down, at least not like that anyway. Katy Anchant.
You naughty girl. No, that wasn't nearly as loving as they usually are. It sounds as if you're a little miffed with our Davy.
Well, it's kind of hard to control my temper, really, because it's not really what I want to say to him, but,
No, you're not getting the loving you need, though.
Light-hearted and...
Yes, if you got the loving you needed back from him, you would be more calm, wouldn't you? I mean,
Well, exactly, yes.
a girl
yes.
needs what a girl needs, and you're just not getting it. Come on, David. She's trying
I
so hard here to get your attention.
Yes, it's very disappointing.
So this universal credit, we like, we don't like.
No, I'm not a big fan. Very, very expensive, and doesn't seem to be working.
What do you think it means? What is universal credit? Is your opinion, because no one seems to know.
Well, I think they need to leave benefits alone, quite frankly.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And not spend billions and billions of pounds on, creating a new system, which is just costing loads and loads of money.
Yeah. So, isn't that government policy, though, to throw more money at things that aren't working? Hasn't that always been the way?
Yes, it always is.
So why fix it if it ain't broke?
Nothing new there.
Okay. So how long are you going to continue writing these letters to David?
Well, I don't know. I'll probably as long as but
Oh, power, not
next.
power. You said the magic word.
Yes.
No, you need to be electrocuted for that. We do not give them power. They take power.
Well, he thinks he has power.
Exactly.
Well, unfortunately, he does have some level of power. Because
He does.
he's managing to do a lot of things that are outraging a lot of people.
Absolutely, isn't it just? So you're just going to keep on until something happens. So really, you don't have a sell-by date on this or an end-by date. You're just going to keep plugging.
Yes, as long as I can.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, it raises awareness. It certainly does. We're going to be going into the news in a little while, so I'm watching carefully on the clock here.
Mm-hmm.
But what I want to ask you, why Cameron? Why not Blair or Duncan Smith or any of the others?
Well, there's no way that I could possibly write to Ian Duncan Smith without using lots and lots of swear words.
Exactly.
I just couldn't.
But you can.
I couldn't contain myself.
But you can with Cameron.
Yes, well, there's something sort of a bit jokey about him. It's almost surreal.
Yeah.
You can't quite believe that he's in the position that he's in. So it's quite easy to take the mickey out of him because he's such a... If it wasn't such an awful situation, it would be quite laughable.
Yeah. Well, I understand about the Duncan Smith bit here. His first name is George, by the way, not Ian. Did you know that?
Yes, I did, yes.
Yes, George Duncan Smith, bless you, lives rent-free in a £2 million home with an annual salary of £134,565.
Yes.
And he has a history of being economical with the truth in a number of ways, doesn't he? And
He does indeed. He does
Yeah.
indeed. I don't think I've ever met anyone who actually thinks he's a nice bloke.
Really?
Ever. Yeah.
But he does the job that
He
he's
does,
paid
yeah.
to do by someone.
Yeah.
The revelation that his CV had been altered to show that he'd been a student at Perugia University, and
Yeah.
was he?
Nope.
Nope. What about Dunchurch College of Management that's also on his CV?
Yeah, another one.
All right. What about the infamous Betsy Gate?
Mhm.
Now, this is where he famously gave a full-time salary to someone for doing something particularly difficult, and I'm sure you know what that was.
Yes. Yes. That was for his wife, wasn't it?
Yes, he paid his wife for
Yeah.
being his wife and looking after his house and kids.
I think I would need a very high salary to be Ian Duncan Smith's wife.
Oh, but not David Cameron's.
No.
You never know. One day there may be an opening. Just keep going.
Indeed. Well, I live in hope.
Exactly. He also claimed for employees that he no longer had, and he claimed for things like food for his own kitchen and haircuts, bless, and a mirror for his flat and even underwear, which apparently even is £134,565 a year every year. Salary isn't big enough to cover his underwear. His bum must really look big in that.
No, well, it's very difficult to afford underwear. I have the same problem myself.
Yeah. But of course he is famously known for saying that he could live on the £53 a week that he expects other people to live on.
Yes.
If I had to, I would, he said.
Yes, but he didn't answer the petition.
Exactly. It was only 300,000 people signed a petition asking him. It wasn't many. It was just a drop in the ocean, really. The 300,000 people in the UK don't matter one little bit.
That petition. I loved that petition. I discovered it actually when it only had kind of about 2,000 signatures.
Yeah.
And I kind of signed it and shared it, and then watched it getting, just going viral all over the place. It was wonderful, sitting there hitting refresh and just seeing it going up by hundreds every minute.
Exactly.
But no, he chose to ignore that.
Yeah, bless him. Well, he's probably too busy buying underwear.
Yes.
And the Daily Mirror then broke a story about his £39 breakfast expenses claim. So that's going to eat into his £53 a week. So I can understand it would be difficult for him, really.
Yes, I'm sure it would be.
So would it be fair? I've had comment here. I've had comments. I have had people contact me and ask me to say this statement and ask that as he has been proven to be a serial liar, and I think that is fair comment, and a benefits cheat, yet he's still in government. He's still earning his £134,565 a year in his job as the government. And of course, if he was sacked, would he be going onto the workfare scheme? Do you think he'd find it fair?
I don't think he would end up on the workfare scheme at all. Unfortunately, I think he should. But then I think there are quite a lot of people in government who have, scammed the system in one way or another with expenses and various other things. But you don't really see them, facing any kind of justice as a result, unfortunately.
Absolutely. Do you think there's one rule for us and one rule for them?
Oh, definitely. Cool. Definitely, without a doubt.
Absolutely. Well, writing these love letters is not the only thing you do, is it?
No.
You make beautiful music.
Oh, well, I make music. I don't know if it's
Well,
beautiful.
it would be more beautiful if you made it with David Cameron, wouldn't it?
Oh, it would be. It would be. That's what's missing from my music.
Yes.
Backing vocals from DC.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, would it be okay for me to play one of your songs?
That would be absolutely fine.
Now, you sent this to me
honoured.
yesterday, and I have played this on a loop ever since. I think this is absolutely outstanding. I can't promise we'll get the right record because I keep pressing the wrong buttons, but we will try. If you'd like to stay on the line just a moment.
I will.
And I'll come back to you after this, and we may have the news after this, and then I'll come back to you, Katy.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
We don't need no education. We don't need no thought control. No dark sarcasm in the classroom. Teacher, leave them kids alone. We don't need no education. We don't need no thought control. No dark sarcasm in the classroom. Teacher, leave them kids alone. Hey, teacher, leave them kids alone. All in all, it's just another brick in the wall. All in all, you're just another brick in the wall. I don't need no arms around me. And I don't need no drugs to calm me. I have seen the writing on the wall. Don't think I need anything at all. No, don't think I need don't think anything at all. All in all, it was all just bricks in the wall. All in all, you were all just bricks in the wall. All in all, it's just another brick in the wall. All in all, you're just another brick in the wall.
Broadcasting online.
www.riviera.fm.
Torp Bay's community radio station. This is Riviera FM.
And that was Cool and the Gang and Fresh. And my guest here today on the phone is Katy Anchant. Are you still there, Katy?
Hello, yes I am.
Oh, I'm so pleased. So many buttons. I pressed the wrong buttons and done the wrong things today, but we still got Katy. Hello, lovely. We're discussing today, the subject of today's show is slavery, 21st century slavery, and does it exist? Do we think it exists? And you have something to tell us because you know about Keith Lindsay Cameron,
Yes.
who is commonly known as Keith Ordinary Guy. And he's an activist from Somerset who's raising what he calls a shoestring army to crowdsource funds and mount a legal challenge against the government's new claimant commitment for job seekers. After he went up to Bristol this weekend, and as far as I know they're still there, I don't know, after police said they were unable to arrest Ian Duncan Smith and Lord Freud for breaching the Human Rights Act.
Yes.
What
That's
can
right, yes. It seems to happen quite a lot. I've known quite a few people who've approached the police actually about the government and various members of Parliament, but it always seems to be the same answer that, you know, it's not their job, there's nothing they can do, which is unfortunate because, I mean, I think they should be arrested personally.
Right. Okay. So as he hasn't been arrested, and as the police have said he's not going to be arrested, I have been informed, but I'm not really following this in depth, so I'm not an expert here, but I have been told that the police have advised him to take a civil action, which seems rather a strange thing to do. I would have thought it should have been a judicial review.
Yes.
But sorry?
I would have thought so too.
Exactly, but the police have advised him to take civil action and advised him to get a lawyer, and hence this shoestring army, I think, is some sort of fundraiser. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Yes, I believe they're going to be fundraising. I've been sort of following what Keith's doing, and I don't think he's quite sure how he's going to raise money so far, but it definitely seems to be sort of taking off and gaining some momentum. So I'll be following what he's doing with that and wish him the very best of luck.
Yeah, well, this is all to do with the new claimant commitment. It's a form for new claimants, obviously, who want to claim benefits in some way or another. And I hope, I don't know if anyone can see on the webcam, I've got a little pixie on my lap, that's her bell ringing. She's fidgeting. But apparently this new claimant commitment will recast the relationship between the citizen and the state, which sounds rather Orwellian to start with. Thank you, Krystyna. She's taking Pixie from me. And it's recasting this relationship between the citizen and the state from one centred on entitlement to one centred on a contractual concept in which the government provides a range of support only if a claimant meets an explicit set of responsibilities with a sanctions regime to enforce compliance. And we've already talked about the sanctions being anything up to 5 times the maximum allowed for a committed criminal.
Yes, that's right.
So what are your thoughts on that? I mean, what are your thoughts on the criminality? I mean, the thing that came to my mind, it sounds a bit of an obscure thought, but my mind does go off in an obscure tangent sometimes. It was like when they were talking about bringing in the death penalty for rape as well as for murder in America. And people said, well, how ridiculous, because then the rapist might as well murder his victim and there's one less witness because he's got nothing to lose.
Yes.
And it appears to me that this workfare thing and this claimant commitment seems the same thing. You know, why not commit a crime if you're going to be sentenced to 5 times the maximum of which is 300 hours per year for a community sentence? Why not commit crime at the same time?
Yes. Well, I think the main problem with any kind of contractual thing like that is it kind of puts blanket rules on everybody. And, you know, workfare, for example, I mean, like you mentioned Kate Riley earlier, when she did workfare, she was a geology graduate, and she actually had a voluntary position in a museum in the geology department, which could have led to her actually having a job in her chosen subject, in what she'd studied to do. But she was forced into workfare and obviously lost her voluntary position. So you kind of say, well, you know, workfare as kind of work experience is, in theory, quite a good idea to, you know, maybe younger people who haven't had a job before, or people who maybe lack confidence in the workplace and have had a lot of difficulties, then great.
Absolutely.
But you have kind of professionals who have 20 years engineering or IT experience who are being forced to go and work on the freezer aisle in the supermarket, and that's not really going to add to their experience or to their CV. It's just free labour.
And what do you think about the idea that this is depriving people who do want to work for money of jobs?
Well, yes, I think it's appalling because, you know, there are people who would be very, very happy to do those jobs who don't have the opportunity to get the jobs because there are people doing it, you know, because they're forced to.
Exactly. And if you think of it from an employer's point of view, as an employer, if you were an employer, would you want to pay somebody to do a job, or would you want someone who can have for free?
Well, you'd take someone for free, wouldn't you,
Exactly.
if you were unscrupulous?
So this seems to be the concern about this particular scheme. How can it possibly be reducing unemployment? At best, it can be simply substituting a paid employee for an unpaid employee.
Yeah. I mean, the problem is, you know, unemployment actually for the nation is a healthy thing, because if everyone was in a job, then everyone could demand higher salaries. Because, you know, there wouldn't be people out there prepared to do the job for less money or prepared to work harder in the job. And so, you know, you have this kind of society where everyone's kind of on their toes because they could lose their job at any moment and be replaced by someone who will either do it for half the money that they're on or for nothing.
So you're saying it would make more of a free market?
Yeah.
A better working economy? Yeah. So what is your view on the idea then that of the whole subject of this show today? Do you consider this to be slavery under all the dictionary definitions that you possibly, hopefully, heard me read out at the beginning of the show? Yes. Do you consider this, although the Supreme Court says it isn't?
Well, it undeniably is, as far as I'm concerned. But, you know, like we were saying earlier, it's one rule for them, isn't it, and another for everyone else. So if they say it's okay for people to be, you know, forced to do jobs for nothing, then it is. But, you know, we of course know that that's possibly not the case.
A civil relationship in which one person has absolute power over the life, fortune and liberty of another.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that is the case.
It is, absolutely, isn't it? Well, thank you, Katy. You've been absolutely wonderful. It's been lovely to talk to you. It's been lovely to hear your music. Thank you so much. And Katy's been kind enough to say that she'll come on and read us a little love letter each week. So next Monday, from 3 till 5, hopefully we'll be here on Riviera FM, and hopefully we'll hear you again, Katy.
Yes, most definitely.
Well, it's been a delight. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.
Adele there in Skyfall. Happy birthday, Adele. We played that just because it's your birthday. Adele from Tottenham, England. English singer, Rolling in the Deep, Someone Like You, all sorts of beautiful songs. What a voice. And the next song we're going to play too is for a birthday boy today. But we've also got Michael Palin, who loves Monty Python. Do you like Monty Python, Krystyna?
I do indeed, yes.
Yes,
yeah.
I could. We could go Life of Brian here, but I'm sure it'll drive everybody crazy. We've got Rex Go. Is it Go? G-O-H? A rock guitarist from Air Supply. It's his birthday today. Happy birthday, Rex. And Richard E. Grant. Now, he has got something. I don't know what it is.
Really?
Yes, I used to watch some of his things, and I used to think, oh, he always plays the bad guy and the serious man and, you know, the nasty piece of work. And he's been in Posse and Bram Stoker's Dracula and so on with Nail and I, which I watched again the other day. But I saw him in what was it called? It was called Jack and Sarah. It was a very light-hearted movie about him being a dad. A lone parent, Sarah, died, and he was left with a little girl. I think Sarah was the wife. Sarah might have been the little girl. Anyway, the wife died. And he smiled in that movie for the first time. And I just thought, he just had that drop-dead gorgeous smile. And ever since I've been a fan. So Richard E. Grant, have a wonderful birthday. I love you. If you want to phone and tell me you love me too, that's fine, but I know it anyway. And we've also got Craig David, whose birthday, born in 1981 from Southampton, not far from my mum. So this is Craig David and Rendezvous. This is the Lioness on Riviera FM. We're here today talking about slavery. I have Krystyna with me, who's just opened the door because it's so hot in here today. It's not just us, is it? I know we are, but the temperature's caught up with us. And we have an interesting story, and again, on the topic of slavery. What do you think about this? Teenagers in Spain could be forced to help out with chores under a draft bill in Spain. This is legislation. This is what's known as law. If it's passed, and this legislation has been put through to the government, the Spanish government, if they pass this, or when they pass this, children in Spain will have to help out with the housework in accordance with their age and regardless of their gender. They will have to participate in family life. That's in inverted commas, participate in family life. That's part of the legislation. And they will also have to respect their parents and siblings. Now, Spain's ABC newspaper reported this originally. It's the Child Protection Bill. And under the Child Protection Bill, which we have child protection bills, and they seem to protect everyone except children. They would also have to respect school rules and study as required. Well, what do you make of that, Krystyna?
It's kind of it's kind of the exact opposite of what we've got in this country, because people in this country are always whining that the children don't listen anymore, children don't have any boundaries, and so they can get away with murder. They don't have respect like we used to when we were younger, and things like that. And it's kind of the exact opposite. So in a dream world, this would happen without people having to implement legislation in order for it to happen. Okay. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. It certainly makes sense. Yeah, absolutely. But my question would be, how would they enforce this? Would parents have to go to the police and say, my child didn't do the washing up today, or he didn't wash up well enough, or, little Pedro didn't clean the glasses, there was still a smear on him, so take him away for 6 months and beat him up or something. I mean, what happens? How is the enforcement of this actually going to happen? Yeah. And can it be according to what has to be called the rule of law in this country anyway, which is supposedly, and this is looked at a flimsy idea of the rule of law in the UK. I'm sorry if that offends anybody, but I think I can substantiate that very clearly. The idea of the rule of law is it's one rule for me and one rule for you, the same rule for everybody. The law is the law, and no one is exempt, and no one can buy their way out of it or become an MP and be exempt from it, etc. So the rule of law says that we should all be treated the same way. How can this satisfy the rule of law in the sense that some children, I mean, it's so subjective. When I say to my child, I want you to behave, I may be far more lenient than you, who expects immediate behaviour like a Victorian child, should be seen and be heard. And then there are some parents who don't believe in disciplining their children at all. So how can this actually be enforced, and how can this be fair?
Also, it's really not taking into account the fact that everybody's different.
Yeah.
So not every child's going to be the same. And you might have a child that may have, I don't even know how to put it, they might have learning difficulties, for example, or they might have, different temperaments. Just because that's their character, then how are the government expecting everybody just to conform to this robot? Also, I'm a bit concerned that actually it allows for people, parents and people in authority, because it's not necessarily always going to be parents, it could be guardians as well, that they might abuse it.
Yeah, exactly. There is an issue here. We've got the phone ringing and I don't know how to stop the phone ringing.
Don't worry. What we could do is put some music on, and then we'll get back to everybody after this song. Should we have a bit of the Eagles next?
Okie doke. This is Hotel California. Thank heavens for the eagles there, saved our bacon. We had a phone call and it came during our talk time, as it were. We were chatting and couldn't really answer the phone, but we have a gentleman on the phone who would like to talk about slavery. We have a gentleman called Nick of the Devon clan. He just phoned on to Riviera FM. Hello, Nick. Nick, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Well, thank you for giving us a call. And if anyone else would like to give us a call when the line's free, it's 01803 521 421. This is Riviera FM. And what would you like to say, Nick?
Well, I was just going to mention that with regard to this, was it Portuguese or Spanish?
Spanish
ruling?
law, yeah.
Spanish law that's just been muted. They seem to be trying to legislate for respect. You can't legislate for respect. You can only earn it.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no way that it's going to come to a good end in any way, shape or form. As you and your co-host there were saying earlier, there's nothing about this that actually adds up. You cannot legislate for all the differences that you're going to find across the board in all the families in Spain.
Yeah, this bill has been approved by the Spanish Parliament.
I know, but well, something being approved by Parliament does not, to my mind, mean that it's right, because very often things that are approved by Parliament are for the good of the members of the Parliament.
Yeah, well, this law will make not being polite illegal.
Yes, I know. I mean, you cannot legislate about things like that. I mean, as I said, respect is something that you have to earn. You can't just legislate and tell your kids you will respect your parents, end of story, because you don't know what's going on behind the door.
Yeah, there's more to this bill than just that part. There are other key elements here of that proposed bill include the establishment of a list of known paedophiles who could be banned from working with children. Well, surely that should have happened already. Schools and companies hiring staff.
We have that ourselves, don't we?
I'm sorry?
I say we do have that ourselves.
Yeah, but in Spain this is just a proposed bill at the moment. Schools and companies, they propose hiring staff to work with children will have to ask applicants to provide a copy of their criminal record, rather like the CRB check that we have here in the UK. And the legislation would also require people working with children to report possible crimes against children, and failure to do so will be considered a crime of omission. But that doesn't actually address the fact that children are being legislated against regardless of their age. What it doesn't mention are the penalties. We don't know what happens if little Pedro doesn't wash up properly.
As you mentioned.
Exactly.
It sounds impossible to me.
Yeah.
But I have to say that your topic for today is very, very relevant. Couldn't really be much more so. We have a system in place in this country that makes slaves of most of the people in it. They may not believe that they're slaves, but if they stop working and doing as they're told, they'll soon find that they are.
So would you consider that they're slaves as long as or rather they're not slaves as long as they comply with the legislation that tells them what to do?
Not at all. What I'm saying is they are slaves anyway. Most of them don't realise it.
And what would you suggest we could do about that, or you would do about that, or anyone would do about that?
Well, I'm all for self-responsibility and self-governance.
Right.
That's my way forward. Okay. And if you're self-reliant, self-governing, then you don't need any of the... I'm trying to be polite.
Thank you.
You can't... you don't need any of the rubbish that comes out of Westminster. I mean, what they say down there has very little bearing on the way that we live here anyway. Right.
In what way? What do you mean by that? In what way do you mean that?
Well, you were talking about the WorkFARE program.
Yeah.
And as far as the WorkFARE program is concerned, that is neat slavery, as Kate was saying. Was it Kate?
Katy on the phone?
Yes.
Krystyna next to me.
Yeah, Katy was mentioning that it is slavery. There's no other way of describing it. The only people who don't describe it as slavery are the people who are benefiting from it.
And who do you think is benefiting from it?
The people who get the free labour.
Uh-huh.
And the people and the government in the fact that it massages the unemployment figures.
Yeah, exactly. So back to the Spanish law here then, prosecuting children. How would you consider it could work in practice? Sorry, we've got Pixie and her bell again. I do apologise for this. I'm going to take the bell off in a minute. Where children are legislated to have to participate in family life, for example. Now, what does that mean? Whose definition is there going to be an exhaustive list that they must get up at 7 a.m. and they must wear clean white socks and they must come down and make their parents a cup of coffee and they must smile? I mean, I'd be quite happy with that if my children had done that. But if they choose not to, do they not have a right not to?
My children did do that, but my children didn't do that because it was legislated by government.
Exactly. But what if they had an off day?
Because they enjoyed being with us.
But what if they had an off day and they didn't want to do it? They didn't feel like they wanted to get up, or they were tired, or they,
Everybody's allowed on off days.
Exactly, but not if it's legislated. If it's legislated, they don't.
Yes, there are far too many grey areas. We don't know the absolute details of how they intend to go forward with it, and I can't really make any kind of conclusive judgment without that information. But by the same token, I cannot see any way that legislation like this can ever be made to work.
Right. No, I find it hard. It's interesting. It's an interesting thing to see that somebody's put forward this legislation in the first place, really, to have more control over people.
Can I just ask something? It might be really blonde, but if something's the law, and say people come from somewhere abroad to the UK on holiday, they have to comply with our laws.
Yes.
So if we went abroad with our children to Spain, would they then have to comply with that legislation when we're on holiday?
It's a good question. My guess would be yes.
Pretty soon the law may be coming out of Brussels, and it supposedly would apply to all of us anyway.
If it's a European law, that's a fair point.
Actually, that's a good point,
Yeah. I don't know how this would conflict with the European, with the Human Rights Act either, the right to freedom and a private life, etc.
I would say it's in conflict with it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Well, thank you very much for ringing us. I do appreciate that, and we appreciate your thoughts.
Great show, Lioness.
Well, thank you very much. Any music you would like us to play for you, if we have it?
No.
No.
Your dulcet tones are fine for me, thank you.
Oh, you're smoother. You can come again. Thank you very much. That's Nick of the Devon Clan. Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye now.
This is Riviera FM.
Okay, so that's pretty much it today. I would say you've done a good job, Sarah.
Well, thank you very much.
Sorry, Lioness.
Yes, thank you. And I want to thank everybody who's phoned in and everybody who's commented here and everybody who's taken part. Without you, we've got no show, really, so thank you so much. Next Monday at 3 o'clock, we're going to be talking about the war on drugs, and we have a number of guests that I'm not going to announce yet because some of them admittedly are a little bit nervous, probably more nervous even than me. But we have Eddie Falcon waiting in the wings outside for his next show, and Christine's going to tell you a little bit more about who's coming on next.
Yeah, so we've got Eddie Falcon with his rock and roll show coming up from 5 until 7. And then afterwards we've got Eloise from 7 till 8, followed by Gareth, who's in from 8 till 11. And then tomorrow morning, kicking off Tuesday the 6th of May, we're going to have the Razza, or Pete Risley, in from 9 until 11, followed by Willie Walsh from 11 till 1. And then I'm sure they can fill you in on the rest.
He's such a sweetie. I do like him.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So how are you feeling about your first show?
I don't know. I'll tell you when I've had a few drinks.
Yes, absolutely. You know where we're heading after the show, girls
yes,
and boys.
anybody else is buying, you're welcome to join us. So that's about it from us. Please join us next Monday at 3 o'clock, between 3 and 5, for the war on drugs. If you'd like to make any comment, contact us on Facebook. I've got a Facebook, the Lioness Raw, RAW page. If you'd like to come along in there and make any comments or any questions or any suggestions, please do. And we're going to head out now with the Sky News. Thank you for joining us. Lots of love and enjoy the rest of your bank holiday. Bye now.
Broadcasting online.
www.riviera.fm.
Torp Bay's community radio station. This is Riviera FM.